locally, but yeah, loving my time in Lancashire. Yeah, we just want to introduce our next section, which is the Real Country File. So I'd like to really welcome, they don't need much introduction at all, so I'd like to really welcome Seels and Olly Harrison to the tent. Oh, we could do better than that. And also introducing Rob Mason. And also a really special welcome to Thurlesbury Young Farmers. I'd like to just hand over to Steve now and the next sort of introductions. Thank you.
So I thought what we'd do is we'd have a quick, just a 2 minutes, because do you recognise these two, by the way? Yeah, there's a lot of people nodding there. YouTube sensations. Do you recognise this fella here, sat in muck? I love how you've done that, Rob. I love how you've done that. Because Joel's a bit nervous. It's first time on a stage, Joe, I believe, is it?
Yeah, last time I were on one of these is in like a nightclub dancing or something like that.
So first for you. But you've been on many a stage, haven't you now?
Well, I don't know about that, but I've stood on a piece of wood before.
You stood on a piece of wood before, usually fixing something in a big chipper. Before we give you a bit of an overview about these two gentlemen, and then you can ask them your questions if you want. First of all, I'll start by asking both of you, were you in your Young Farmers when you were younger, and which club was it? What was it like for you? What was the experience like for you? We'll start with you, Olly.
Yeah, so I was in Rainford Young Farmers because that was our local club, and I ended up being chairman I think 3 times, because every time I left and then went off doing other things, suddenly the club was dying. They're like, can you come back, we need another chairman, we need a recruitment drive, we need to get some more people, and I had to keep rescuing it. And I'm still technically on the advisory committee now.
So you're not still technically the chairman?
No, I managed to shake that off after 3 times, yeah.
And your experience, you know, when you're getting other youngsters to join and such like, were they happy days, or can you not remember any of them?
No, it was good. I mean, what we found was if we wanted new members, to get them all on the same night, so that you had a few people there that, if you imagine you just brought one new member on a night and everyone knew each other, but that particular new member didn't know anyone in the room, whereas if you brought all the new members on the same night, then you'd have 4 or 5 of them that could sort of all have something in common. But I must admit now though, with social media, like so what me and Joe are doing, and TikTok, Instagram and all that, people can actually know people before they've met them. Like, I kind of knew Joe before I met him. You know, so it probably could be easier to join Young Farmers. So if they've got a really good social media network or following, I think it's good to do that.
I've just realised that might have been one of the questions that the Young Farmers had. Is that right, about Young Farmers? I'm really sorry. I thought it was a nice icebreaker. Joe, you're from Barnsley. Have they got Young Farmers in Barnsley, in Yorkshire?
They did, but I went to Doncaster Young Farmers.
Come on, that's how So what was it like for you as a Young Farmer?
I didn't do any chairman roles or anything like that. I think the main thing was that I went and just had a good time and met some like-minded people. So yeah, I think Young Farmers really is a great thing for the youth of the farming community, and lots of people that weren't from farming backgrounds as well joined our Young Farmers, and I thought that was that's important really. It's an important way to network people from not farming backgrounds.
Like the whole of the countryside community together.
Yeah.
So before I steal any more questions, I feel really bad now. That was like the most obvious first question. Thanks for helping me on that one, Olly. Rob, have you got another microphone? Have you got another microphone? No, just the one. Right, we'll come across. We'll see if we can. This is called facilitating. Facilitating. You pick biggest bloke in 10 to run them down. Right. So what's your name?
Jenny.
And what's your question? Is it for both of them or just one of them?
Both. Why do you think it's important to show farming on YouTube?
Oh, that's a good one. Have any of you got a question about how many views they've had or how many followers before I start? So we'll start with just how big the market is. How many people are following you, but how many views have you had?
So I think on TikTok we've got 40-some thousand, and YouTube's like 10, and yeah, it's millions of views. I'm not sure on the specific numbers, but it's in the millions. So.
You know the big time when they go, it's like millions now. It's millions. That's quality. And what about yourself?
Well, people sort of look at the number of subscribers, but really it's the views, because you'll get a lot of people that will watch that won't subscribe. But like my channel, I think it's had about 14 million views and 1.3 million just in the last 28 days. And I reckon only half of them are farmers. So the other sort of 700,000, 600,000 people are non-farmers. So it's all about teaching them what's going on every day on a farm.
Yeah, so why do you think, I'm going to give you the mic now, you can pass it between yourselves, why do you think it's important to show agriculture and farming on YouTube?
Well, for the last sort of 100 years we've been rubbish at it. you know, we kind of see the public as being a nuisance, being in our way, throwing their rubbish over the hedges, you know, or you know, giving us abuse when we're on tractors. And there's only really Jeremy Clarkson that's done the most for farming and educating the general public in the last, it's got to be 50 years probably, at least as long as I can remember anyway. So I think it's good that we show people what's going on. I mean, it isn't supposed to be entertaining, my channel, but generally there's something going wrong somewhere that people find interesting and entertaining. And Joe, he just, if it's not entertaining, just set something on fire.
Fire seems to just follow me around at the minute. So if you haven't seen already, there's been a barn on fire and then my field of hay set on fire, whether it's somebody leaving a piece of glass on the floor or something like that. But it's just a way that we can get our message across, and let's get our message across on social media in a positive way. So there's lots of negative things said about farming that probably people will have seen in the press, like activists and things like that, and they're very good at using social media to forward their cause. Well, let's use social media as farmers to try and forward our cause and show people what farming's really about.
One thing as well that's changed sort of in the last maybe 4 or 5 years is what you see on TV and what you see in newspapers is what trends on social media the day before. So when the whole footpath thing was happening during COVID and everyone was straying off.
Jack's lost
There's a fire.
Jack's lost a pig.
Yeah, so when we were having lots of trouble with people straying off the footpaths and just destroying fields, you know, I just put some pictures and some videos of what was going on. The next thing, the TV or on the phone, can we come and interview in the morning? And then that gets it to a bigger audience because that's put it in front of the rest of the public that don't actually follow you on YouTube.
Can we ask a new YouTube star, eh? Chairman, come over here. I'm not going to stand in up, unmentionable over. So Rob, you were on the Real Country Farm, which is a new YouTube channel that myself and Olly and Angela both talking about. Did people start to recognise you? Because you've been on the radio with me a number of times, but we've got that anonymity. But then when you're telling your story and people can see who it is, did you notice a difference?
Yeah, a big difference really. Within an hour of that first video going out, one of my mates just sent me a Snapchat saying he's got a t-shirt saying the man seen on YouTube. And he has actually got that t-shirt as well now. So yeah, no, I saw a big response, you know, and a lot of positive feedback on that first YouTube, like I say, with these guys on that Real Country File.
Getting that out there to get the real kind of story, because it isn't, you guys don't make anything up. In fact, Joe, just tell us, how can you remain so positive? I watched the video where your barn is set on fire, it's massive, the fire crew were there for about 5 days, I think they got through about 8 pack of cards and about 5,000 brews. And you were inspiring, you were inspirational because you just kept your cheery kind of disposition. How do you manage that?
I don't know, I'm just weird I think, but it's just one of them situations, isn't it? You can get downhearted and sort of drown in your sorrows about it, or you can just pick yourself up and just think, well, it's bad, but things could be worse. So just look for the positives rather than dwelling on the negatives, I suppose. And that's what farmers do, I suppose, isn't it? We have those ups and downs, and you've just got to work your way through it, and hopefully the grass is greener on the other side.
Look at that, positive, or burnt, as Olly just said, or burnt, or hopefully not. Vic, you've got another question. What's your question? Is it for both of them?
Yeah, it's for everyone really. So here at Billsbury Farmers, we did the Yorkshire Peaks in September, raising over £300 for Yellow Belly's farming safety charity. The farming is one of the highest death rates in the industries. What do you think something should happen now to try and decrease the death rates on farms empowered by the government, or just how can we reduce that?
I think that's a brilliant. Can we have a round of applause for that question? That is an absolutely phenomenal question. Some of you may know I work in forestry. We're behind agriculture in terms of deaths, and I look at the trends, and it is scary. It is really, really scary. If you're running a building site with the same percentage fatalities as in agriculture, they would shut you down. You wouldn't be able to lay another brick, build another house. So just, going back to the question from Vic there about what can we do? How can you guys, as influencers, You know, how can you change that? And do you take it into consideration when you're filming?
Oh yes, you got to take when you're filming something, you got to take it into consideration because there's so many people watching and so many people that want to pick where you've done something wrong, safety-wise. It's taught me some things, like people like, well, you're taking that PTO shaft and the tractor was still running, and it's not something that ever really come into my thought process because it was how my dad taught me how to do it. But now we always turn the tractor off and we put that PTO shaft on. So yeah, I think it's just passing that message to obviously the farmers that are watching, that we're trying to be safe with what we're doing, and hopefully that gets passed down the line to other people. But yeah, there's too many deaths. I mean, it's been in news today as a 3-year-old lad over near Manchester where has died on a farm, and it just shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about sort of your physical safety, getting stuck in PTOs or getting run over by tractors. The biggest cause of deaths on farms is farmers actually killing themselves. And that is something that I'm always trying to encourage people not to do by encouraging them to talk. So mental health is quite big for me. I lost a friend, it's coming up to 6 years now. He took his own life, farmed, didn't really talk to anyone. Everyone thought he was the happiest person we knew, but he wasn't. So on my videos, I always encourage people to answer as a percent. So if I say, how are you, Joe?
Today, probably like 90%, I think. I was about 70% when I was about to get onto this stage. It went quite well.
So Joe just wrecked that. That was supposed to be an example where I'd say, how are you? And he'd go, I'm fine. Well, that is wrong because that is the biggest lie in the world. I've read the terms and conditions. So if someone asks you how you are and you're not feeling your best, don't go, I'm fine, and just ignore the question. Just go, I'm 20%, I'm 30%. And you might find that they'll go, oh, what's up? And then you might say, they might tell you that they're having a rubbish day, and then everyone gets to chat, and then you just move on and you feel better.
That's a great. And we do it slightly different. I score my mental health out of 20 every day because I read a book by Graham Fowler. Some of you may know him. He played cricket for Lancashire and England. He was like at Elton John's parties. He was in New York on private jets, and he couldn't get out of bed some days with depression, and he didn't know why. And it took him about 20 years to start scoring out of 20. And he said he scores out of 20 because 10's really harsh. If you give yourself a 6, you think, yeah. If you give yourself a 4, you think, yeah. So if I get into single figures, I tell my missus and we do something nice. We usually drive to Silverdale Beach and have a Saturday afternoon just walking on beach trying to do something. Because when it comes, you don't know why. And we both lost friends through mental health issues. So a really kind of great work that you're doing with your percentage. It's the same kind of thing, isn't it? Don't let it rest.
People will say I'm 100%, you know, all I'm doing is encouraging people when they're not 100% to actually say where they are.
How are you today?
I don't know, I'm going to be sunburst, probably about 80.
I'll tell you what, there's a man here, let's see how honest he is. Let's see how honest he is. How are you today, Rob?
I'm about 85 now, but this morning, I dare say.
Is that hangover, or is that just worry and stress of being chairman of one of the most successful shows in the UK?
No, I'll have it. It was worry and stress this morning, yesterday morning, but just going back to what these lads were saying, you know, talking with a great team of guys behind us here, all last week. I mean, stress levels were seriously high around here. But we decided this year we were going to give pizzas at night. We had a load more fresh faces down. We were going to the local pizza shop, which loved us because I think the biggest one was £150 pizza bill.
I thought that was going to be £150 pizza then. I was thinking, you're going to put one of your, is it prize lamb that you...
Yeah, something like that. But there was 15 or 20 of us here at end of night, and we all had pizzas and we all just chilled. And by the time we got talking, we probably started that meal at say 50-60%, we were drained from the day. Within half an hour, all just chatting, having a laugh, we were 95-99%.
Important stuff, and what Olly says there, keeping that talking going, not hiding it, not letting it fester in the dark corners. All that thing, is that a good answer for you?
Yeah, mental health is important. We try and we've had field nurse down to what I've got recently. It's not just mental health, it's looking after yourselves and keeping yourselves active.
Keeping yourselves active, indeed. This looks like a long question, lads. Somebody here has been doing the GCSE homework, I think. What's your name, mate?
Thomas.
Thomas, and what's your question? Have you got more than one?
It's just one question here. Carbon footprint, global warming and climate change just seems to be a particularly popular subject at the moment. Do you believe that farmers are the problem or the solution to this?
Our farmers, the problem, give a round of applause for that question. Our farmers, so I got to Olly first. It's 37 degrees outside in rural Lancashire right now. Global warming might be happening before our very eyes. It also happened here about 20 years ago, say me. Are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution?
That's the easiest question ever with a solution. We're the only people that can capture carbon and store it. Apart from Drax are going to try and pump some underneath the sea, but yeah, we're definitely the solution. And also, there's too much money made out of the whole climate change lingo. It's an excuse to tax things, and so you just got to watch and read between the lines a little bit.
Tell us about what you've done with soil and how you're farming different arable-wise.
Yeah, so watch it on YouTube. No, we direct drill wherever possible, so I hope that's not that case. I want my mates driving a case, I want to get a video of it. Yeah, we try to not turn the soil over at all. We'll direct drill one crop into the last crop's residue. It saves us fuel. It can conserve water if we get a dry time, and obviously it's quicker method as well. So it saves us a lot in fuel, diesel, and labour.
Yeah. So I think livestock farming gets a bit of a bashing in this sector, but I think what we need to do is show what we can do to reduce our carbon footprint in farming, because not a lot's talked about that, I don't think, in the livestock. So we use a lot of byproducts like Trafford Gold and bread. We had 1 million packets of crisps. If people want to check that out on the YouTube, that would have just gone to landfill. So I mean, how much methane are we going to be releasing if we're just sending this sort of waste to landfill, when ruminants like cattle can transfer it into food that we can all eat? So I think that's the message that we want to be putting out to everyone, that farming can be a solution, definitely.
Just ask Rob if he's loving this, isn't he? I didn't think you were going to get interviewed as well. Do you take global warming, carbon footprint into? Is it on the profit and loss account of the farm? Are you looking at what you're doing?
Yeah, we're always looking at what we're doing, and I think now with more modern technology, the carbon footprint of fertiliser spreading, things like that, precision farming has helped a lot. So we are massively looking at home, on our. It does go into profit and losses. It does come in yet.
Come in. Your last question isn't about robots, is it? Right. So you're talking about using fuel and tractors in the field. How far are we off actually you not being in the cab and the tractor being solar powered, do you think?
Well, it's sort of here now. You've got solar powered tractors that can work on horticulture, so veg crops and things like that. Autonomous tractors, they're here. They're about 180,000, and they look at that. They've not got big wheels, they've got tracks. It is there. Whether it's economically viable on a far more scale, it is obviously isn't yet. But we're talking about precision farming. Rob just mentioned it then. I don't know whether anyone's seen the John Deere chopper over there, but that's got yield mapping on it, which is quite new for a forage harvester. So it's analysing the grass and the dry matter, where it's coming from in the field, and all the different nutrition, so that you can target the approach to the next crop of grass. And one guy apparently he's had it running for a season, and his first 2 cuts he saved $9,000 in fertiliser.
I think there are cheaper options. As Olly says, it's very expensive technology, but what I've done on our farm is I implemented this AgOpen GPS, which basically put RTK steering into our tractors for £1,500. A little bit of soldering and stuff like that, and a lot of reading on forums and things. But there's a guy that actually built it in Canada. He has a robotic tractor. It's an old John Deere, I don't know, something like similar to what you've got, Olly, one of your classics. And it follows him behind. So this is all on like £1,500 worth of stuff, and he's drilling, and the rolling tractor is following him behind. But the thing is, this is in Canada, where we've got like however many acre fields, they're huge, aren't they? Whether it works in the UK when you're close to a footpath and you're close to a road and all these other bits of bobs, the safety aspect's not quite there yet for us, I don't think.
I read an interesting interview, an article in one of the broadsheets a couple of weeks ago that said driverless cars will always be 2 years away. It's been 2 years away for 8 years now, and it's all about the safety on Britain's road. I wonder if tractors in our scenario, in our fields, are somewhere similar. We've got another question. Have you got some more questions as well, or is that the just one each? Yeah, what's your name?
Daniel.
Hey Daniel, what's your question for the lads?
Do you find it difficult fitting in work and social media work?
Do you find it difficult fitting in work? Do you do any work? You just drive, don't you? Just drive. Do you find, we'll come to Joe first. He's the newest YouTube sensation in the UK. So you're newest to this. Is it difficult for you?
There's obviously a time aspect to doing it, and doing the videos is not too bad, and the editing's not too bad, but it's sort of replying to comments and trying to keep all that going is a time-consuming bit. But no, I don't find it difficult because it's like my new hobby, if you know what I mean. It's something that I find interesting and exciting, so it doesn't really come as... When something's your hobby, it's not difficult, is it? It's fun and it's exciting, so for me, no, I suppose I don't find it difficult.
Yes, same here really. It's turned into a hobby that got out of hand, but now it actually pays as well, which is even better. But the GPS helps with that, so I will edit a video while I am driving a combine or a tractor or a sprayer with the GPS steering for me. The replying to comments is what does take the time, and the annoying thing about that is it's only going to get worse because as the channel grows, the comments grow, and now I can sort of spend an hour a day replying to comments in the morning, but it'll get to the point where I won't be able to reply to everyone, and that's the sad thing about it really. I feel like I'll let people down then, but every time someone does comment, I'll reply or at least like it to show them I've read it. But also I'd say, loads of people do say to me, have you seen this, do you watch this? Well, I don't have time, so when I would have time to sort of look at other people, that is the time when I reply to people.
So I guess there's an obvious question that kind of flows onto that. If he's taking all this time, but it's making you money, is there a tipping point when actually Oliver Harrison won't be in the cab, but he'll be behind the computer because the views and the likes and the YouTube and the TikTok will be making you more money than what it would cost to employ people to be in that tractor? Is there a point? Is it 500,000 subscribers? Is it 1 million like the Hoof GP?
Well, no, because I just wouldn't enjoy it then, so I'd stop doing it. I'll only do it as long as I enjoy doing it, and if it got to the point where I couldn't farm, then I'd not enjoy it, would I? So I'd stop.
I don't know if whoever's watched my YouTube, but if you look in the About section, I say, right now it's something like, if I won the lottery, I'd keep farming until the money ran out. So my passion's farming, so yeah, YouTube would stop and I'd continue farming if anything.
I like that. Oh, you lied with a straight face then, Ollie. Fair play to you. You want to see his little face when he gets like a massive spike on his YouTube channel. I get these little WhatsApps, he gets all giddy, like, you know, when you get a bike at Christmas, he's got, oh yeah, I'll tag that in. I'll put another question then. Who wants to ask another question? You got another one, yeah?
Most farmers are normally around in the 60s on average. Do you think social media is the best way in order to encourage young people into getting into farming?
That is a brilliant question. So the average age of farmers is getting up there, top 50s, early 60s. Is what you're doing part of the solution? Is this how we get more youngsters involved in farming and agriculture?
I really hope so. Yeah, I really do hope so. But it's not just young people that are watching these. So at first when I started putting my videos up on TikTok and on YouTube, I thought, oh, it's all the younger generation that's watching. And I looked at the analysis, and 75-year-olds are watching, everybody's watching. So it's getting not necessarily just young people into farming, but get older people into farming as well and understanding what we do.
You're not 60, Joe, so how did you start in farming?
How did I start? So, yeah, basically I grew up on a family farm, but then I went to university and I thought, I need to get on a graduate scheme then. I did enterprise rent-a-car for a bit, renting cars out to people, and yeah, when you want to, when you've been a farmer, yeah, and you get in another industry like that, you're like, yeah, I need to get back to farming.
I was actually in a meeting 2 weeks ago, and they were saying that the average age of the UK farmer has actually got older over the last few years, which for years it's sort of stayed static, and if anything nearly crept down, but now it's going back up, which is really sad. Social media to influence people into farming, definitely. I mean, what's changed just in the last sort of 10 years is Facebook is now for old people. Even Snapchat's not cool anymore, it's TikTok. I mean, your young farmers, what do you watch the most?
Okay, yeah, I know it's old because my 14-year-old tells me what you're doing on Facebook, you old fella. What do you mostly use on social media?
I'd say Instagram probably.
Instagram, but we're old. He's not.
No, it isn't. What's old?
24.
24, okay. 15 April, I'm just going to go digging all that.
It's normally Instagram, Snapchat and TikTok now.
TikTok and YouTube.
How old are you?
13.
13, my lad's 14, I won't let him on TikTok. I must be a grumpy dad. I must be a grumpy dad. So that's the answer to you there, isn't it? It's, you've got to keep in touch with... For those that don't know, tell us what TikTok does for both of you.
Well, I didn't understand TikTok until I had COVID and was that bored. I went on it, and it learns your algorithm of what you like to watch, because as soon as you flick onto a video, it knows whether you've watched it for 3 seconds or you've watched the whole thing. It knows if you sent it to someone else, so it starts to learn what you like, so it shows you things that you like and just sort of sucks you in. What I found was I'd put videos on, there's always like a stupid tune or a dance or whatever with the tracks and stuff, put that on. What I found was the pictures that I was in got watched more because they were generally a video that described how something works. So although it's trying to sort of show you stupid things, there's actually people on there that are watching it, and then when they do see something that's interesting they can learn, they do watch it right through, and they generally tend to be a longer video. So I've found only in the last sort of few weeks that TikTok, the growth on that is huge, and obviously it's global as well, which is great, because then if you get people watching that, then they'll watch YouTube. But also, it's not... they're putting it in front of other people for you. So you know, when you go on Instagram, you can see the pictures of the people you follow. When you go on TikTok, it's showing you people that you've never seen before. So it's a great way to break out of that inner bubble of agriculture and get to a bigger audience. That's the way I see it. I can't remember what the question was, but...
It was a good answer, Joe, though, wasn't it? It was a good answer. If anybody in here is thinking of starting, you know, to do what you guys do, and there is a market out there, there's definitely more, you know, a need for more people putting agricultural content onto social media. What would be your first words of wisdom, words of advice, Joe, for a new start?
Just get your camera out and just start filming stuff. It feels really weird at first, like sticking the camera in front of you like this and talking to yourself, but as when you broke that ice and broke that barrier of doing it that first time, it gets easier and easier. And now I can even walk around the show and people are walking past me and I've got my camera out in front of me, and yeah, I don't really care. But that was the hill that I had to climb first of all to get there. I don't know about you, Olly.
It sounds weird, but it's getting used to the sound of your own voice. So when you speak, you hear it sort of like through your head and through your ears. So it sounds different to when you hear it back. So I don't know if anyone's ever noticed that, but when they've heard themselves on something, it sounds totally different. But after about 6 months, you get used to it. The other thing I'd say is don't do it for the money, because you'll get bored before you earn anything out of it. Do it because you're passionate and only talk about things you're passionate about, otherwise you'll disengage the audience.
That's a really good, and it ties in with that hobby that you were talking about, you know, and having it and it becoming a hobby and wanting to do it. I think we will answer any questions in the audience as well in a moment or two, but any other questions over here? Did you have another one? You had a long list. He's going to get it out now. This could be the tough one that he didn't want to ask you. Let's find out.
So how do you believe that technology can help across different areas of the agricultural industry, so such as like milking robots and like the autonomous tractors like you said before? How do you think that can be like the next future?
Expand upon that kind of futuristic farming then, gentlemen.
Yes, I think everybody's seen price increases, whether that be the general public but farmers as well, especially on inputs and things like that. And stuff like GPS, using RTK technology, really cuts those costs. We can maximise this cost cutting. So yeah, that's only going to be a positive. I don't know if you want to follow on from this, Olly, because I think I've lost my way on you.
I'm not even going to answer it actually, because we keep talking about GPS, but obviously technology is important. But what I will say is not lose sight of what's going on. So we're obviously food producers, or are we just capturing daylight and water and turning it into something we can sell? That's what we've got to look at. Should we just be capturing carbon and selling it to someone else because we stored it for them? That's another thing. It's a bit like YouTube. So at the moment, YouTube is we're on the crest of a wave. We can make money out of it, but YouTube could be put out of business in 3 years, just like Nokia was by Apple. We've just got to keep watching what's going on. It's a bit like years ago when the motor car came along. The guy that used to make horse carriages laughed and looked at it and went, "Oh, look at that! You know, they're stupid, them things. They've got this engine, the noise and the rattling." And what he didn't realise was he was a transport company. He wasn't a coach building company. But he carried on building coaches, and the motor car put him out of business. So you've just got to always go around with your eyes open.
It's a really smart way of putting it. A great analogy, that, isn't it? Yeah, just keep looking at what you produce. Horizon what?
Horizon scanning.
There you go, horizon. So scanning the horizon for what's coming next. And yeah, well, if it's a great tackle to show that over. So, any other questions in the audience? Has anyone got a question for? We'll start with Rob. I know you run a successful agricultural show, or Joe and Olly in the crowd. Don't have to be shy. Do you watch YouTube? Are you farming stock?
Yeah, sort of. We watch them both. My children like it more than me, I suppose.
I don't know if that's. I used to get on radio. I have a picture of my grandpa. So, what is it that you most like watching farming on YouTube?
It's just great to look at how other people do things and learning things.
Learning all the time. I remember when I was at my school and a new rig, one of the things that happened in the bar was a lot of like kind of discussion about who did what with hill farmers or arable and forestry. That's where the ideas, that was a melting pot. You're kind of doing that now, aren't you? Because you go around other farms as well, but showcasing what is happening, what new technology or different ways of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't try to go out my way to make content. I just film what I'm doing each day, and luckily people find it interesting. The Real Country File, we are trying to get people from different areas of agriculture on that to show exactly what's going on. But I think a lot of farmers will watch out of nosiness as well, so that's the reason why the following's there. But also, I think everyone wants to learn. It's something that we all want to do. Like I was saying with the TikTok before, someone will flick through and they'll think, "Oh, what? That's interesting," and it's only interesting because they're learning something, because it's new to them, and I think that's the thing.
I think it's a two-way street as well, especially for me. Like, I'll put something up on, I used to do quite a lot on TikTok, like if something had broke down or something had gone wrong, I'd be like, "Look guys, this has gone wrong, does anybody know how to fix it?" And then there'd be like 700 comments with some people putting like it's got no fuel in it and things like that, but then you get one or two that actually tell you how to fix the machine or how to go about around this problem. So for me it's been two-way street, I suppose.
And we see that in the comments quite a lot, don't we? You'll refer back to your comments and you'll say, "Oh, thank you for whoever mentioned about that left-hand thread on that whatever, and we've been brilliant at it." You do seem to use oxyacetylene quite a lot in fixing agricultural implements. I presume you don't, Joe, because you're enough of a fire risk, but is it your go-to tool out your toolbox?
No, but when we're stuck fixing something, we don't know how something works, or we're trying to find something, I joke to the lads and say we better ask the audience, and we'll say in a video that day, and suddenly we've got like workshop manuals emailed to us from wherever. It's brilliant. It's like a Google gardener, you know. This is the Google gardener. He's got a new nickname. But yeah, you can ask the question. Is something you've asked 40,000 people, and they all know someone that will know if they don't.
The difference is, our generation, or my generation, I think we're a bit embarrassed if you didn't know it all. Now, my 14-year-old, certainly my 28-year-old, will just do exactly what you've just said. It's like asking for help, isn't it, and finding out. What's the strangest kind of country or comments that you've had back? Have you had any proposals for, to run away with them to a foreign island and maybe farm in Tahiti, Olly, or something like that?
I've had a pair of knickers in the post.
I can't beat that, can I? What did I have? I had a guy from New Zealand bought us something from Ireland and got it posted over to England, which is a bit weird. Like, not weird, it was really nice, but like, it was so bizarre. It was like,
it's strange. It's a bit weird. Like, you think someone that doesn't know me is sending me a gift.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's really nice, but like, it's bizarre, I suppose. Never received anything like that before YouTube.
You certainly didn't receive and they didn't fit in. You didn't send him pictures. And you've recently had a new addition to the family, and you received loads of kind of birthday things. Well, they were, it was his, you know, when he came along, lovely presents and gifts.
Yes, there was lots of gifts sent, but equally as well, it's sort of a two-sided thing. So like, I didn't know class combines do a baby grow range, but obviously sending them to me was a nice gift, but also it got a bit of advertising for him, didn't it?
And do you have you any more questions before have you got any others? Have you got one? You got one, there we go. And then I'm going to ask you about free gifts.
So you're here at the actual show. What has been your favourite event at the Reaction Show so far this year, and will you be back next year?
Will you be back? What was your favourite event so far, and will you be back? You've been here for 2 days.
You've just heard it, haven't you? It's out there. When that 4-engine machine came out, and I was stood like near the start line. Wow, I've never been to Tractor to Pulling before, and that, yeah, I want to come again, yeah. Definitely, just for the 4-engine one. What a beast.
Yeah, I think we'll be back in August to see that, especially the night pulling. Obviously the cows and the sheep and everything else are amazing, right?
We've had an official invite for the Real Country File to come down, and maybe one of us can fit in a cab. I don't think it'll be me. So see if we can't get. Who thinks Olly should have a do at tractor pulling? Show of hands. I think that's fairly unanimous. You got more votes than Boris did. You did well, because we want to see you on top of 4 engines and strapped to go to moon. Any other questions in the audience? Anyone got anything that they want to learn or start about, or anything interesting that they've got from YouTube? Do you watch YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, you do. Oh, no, behind. Oh, that there, pointing behind. Was that? You're here for? Do you watch YouTube? A bit. What do you like? And you don't have to answer everything you like. I'll just get out to that one.
It's not a bit wrong, so really. But I do think these lads are putting a great show on to the industry. I've been informing all my life, but they're making it simple that ordinary people can understand what's going on.
Where do you farm? What do you farm?
Beef and sheep, that's only a problem. They don't say all about it. We could do with something about beef and sheep, because everybody thinks when we ain't sheeping, are you clipping them? Even in the middle of winter. You know, them things, people get to understand what's going on.
Whereabouts is your farm?
Clitheroe.
Right, so we'll be getting your number after this, and we'll have him on the Real Country File. You are?
Yeah, probably.
No, that's it. Probably. Look, Rob, don't let him go. Don't let him go. He's only in Clitheroe, so we'll go and see. Because that's what Rob did after we got. Because I knew Rob, so we got Rob on the Real Country File, and then I said, Rob, I need a sheep farm. So we went on episode 2. So if you go on episode 2 of the Real Country File, we're only up to 10. It's only on a Sunday, not like these guys churning them out all the time. Have a look, because we got some good content, didn't we? And that's what we're after. We're after just that, aren't we?
Yeah, real stories off real farms, and ideally, even if they're anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country, if someone can film it for us and send it to us, it's even better, because it just makes the job easy, because Stevens don't have to run up and down the country.
That'd be good, with the price of that red diesel, white diesel going down. And have you noticed how he started marking on his diesel tank every time I've been round? It's like when you go to a party and they mark the wine and the gin. It's like that with his diesel when I turn up now. He's a bit of a rum chap. In terms of gifts then, do you have to be careful when people send you things and companies? Is there rules and regulations at what you can endorse? And do you have to, before YouTube would kind of stop that video, or can you just basically promote anything?
I think I've never been paid to promote anything, but I think if you're paid to promote something, then I think you've got to put like a certain hashtag on, is it, or something?
Yeah, hashtag PP in it.
Yeah, PP or something like that. But if somebody like just sends you a gift, then you can just talk about it in the video, which I think is pretty fine. But I've had like a lot of Chinese companies sort of emailing me saying, do you want this CCTV, like, you know, like reversing cameras and LED lights and things like that? And I've like looked at them and I thought, well, this just looks like it's tapped, and I thought, well, I'm just not going to put it on. Like, you know, I could get sent something free, but there's no point promoting something that you don't really believe in, which, yeah, why I haven't done a great deal of that.
Yeah, it's the same as Joe really. If you obviously get gifts, which is fine, but if it was something really expensive and you are supposed to say it's a paid promotion, even though you've not asked for it, you know, they've physically just sent it to you. You've just got to watch really. It's a lot stricter in America.
A lot stricter in America. One last question, I think, and then we're going to let these guys go and let you get some fresh air out there. So there's going to be a brand new Prime Minister, there's going to be a brand new cabinet, there's likely going to be appointments throughout DEFRA for agricultural ministers. If you could make one change that would stick within Parliament, through government, for British farming right now, what would that change be?
Clarkson for Prime Minister.
You got out that easy, didn't you? You got out that very easy.
Leave it alone, let's get on with it.
Yeah, as Olly said, really, like, have more farmers leading what farm decisions are all about, I suppose, because we seem to be steered by politicians a lot, and they don't really know what's going on in farming, do they? Let's face it. So yeah, more farmer-led decisions.
Supplementary question then on the back of that. We were sat at the NFU stand earlier with your sister who works for the NFU, so this might be a bit of a strange, Ivy's Liz, whatever she is, and you stuck an NFU badge on my cap. When I was doing an interview for the radio, I had two people walking past who said words to the effect that the NFU is perhaps ineffectual. I put that really well because there's some children in it. So can the NFU do more? Does Minette need to do more? Should they be stronger? How can you help them as farmers?
I don't really want to tell you exactly what I think is wrong with the NFU because I think it's not fair, but it does need a bit of change from within, and the only way you can do that is be an active member, turn up to the meetings, voice your opinion, get yourself on committees and steer it, because otherwise there's the people that have just got too much time on their hands that are steering it. I think the communication department in the NFU is rubbish, and I tell them that many a time. And they kind of ignore me a bit, but they can't now because I nearly have a bigger voice some days than them, and they now come to me and ask me to help them with stuff. So I've just took the bull by the horns and got on with it really. But it isn't an effective tool. It just needs the right people to be involved, and just to stand there and moan about it doesn't work.
Yeah, NFU, my dad don't really have a very good word to say about them. I think it's a waste of time, but I suppose you just, like Olly says, if you think something's a waste of time, then maybe you should just try and get involved with it and make it so it's worth it. So yeah, that's what I'm about.
Yeah, no, you did well there, and we can let them into a bit of a secret, can't we, Olly, in that me, you, and one of the NFU people were going to start the Real Country File 4 years ago, before COVID and before lockdown, and it just got mired in so much red tape and whatever that it just kind of drifted away, didn't it, a bit? And
the other thing is they didn't want to do it unless they could brand it themselves, and I was like, the whole point is you've got another voice. It could be the same voice, but it looks to be a different voice. So if the press are talking to someone, they're like, well, this is the NFU's opinion and the Real Country File's opinion, and it could be the same thing. And if it was NFU Real Country File, it was just lost. It was just one voice rather than two.
There you go. Right. I think we've kept you in the tent long enough, ladies, and you've done really well indeed to keep going. I think we should have a round of applause. Well, first of all for the Billsborough young farmers with the wonderful questions, and then for the stars of TikTok, not Facebook anymore. That's for old people. Various other and YouTube channels. Olly Vlogs and Joe Seels. And you'll be able to see other interviews on BBC Radio Lancashire between 3 and 4 today. Thank you.
We're going to get 53 to